questions? There is no motion to approve the minutes, I guess. I've heard from some they don't want to vote on them. Is there anyone who would like to make a motion to adopt the minutes?
Patrick,
Right,
I can take them.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I can take these back and take another look at them because this was my first meeting, so I wasn't quite sure, and I'm happy to do that and cut them down some. Since they were 15 pages long, I wasn't sure if this was the norm, if this is how they were done, but I'm happy to do that. Okay. So they're clearer. Okay. Because I was listening to the meeting as well and going through, so happy to do that.
All right, that sounds good. I read through them myself. I agree with the comments that they were a little bit hard to follow, and there were quite a few, just cleanup items. But I don't know that factually I didn't listen to the recording alongside it. It seemed okay, from my recollection, but it did seem like it needed some cleanup. And I don't know. I see Teresa sitting next to you who did this for a long time with me even, and I know that hopefully you have that resource to help you as to how they've been done in the past.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. That sounds good. All right. Well, we had a quorum, but we're not going to vote on it. So unless somebody at the last minute, for lack of a motion, I guess we will move on in the agenda.
Excuse me, Patrick.
Yes.
This is Marcy Grail. I just wanted to let you know I am here and I didn't attend that meeting, so I wouldn't have voted anyway, but I just wanted to let you know that I have joined. I'm having problems getting video, but I'm here.
All right. Thank you very much for letting us know, and welcome to the meeting, and thank you for being here on right after the 4th of July holiday. Before we move on into the department updates, I know there was one item, normally when I've run public meetings, there's approval of the agenda is on an agenda is a common thing, and we didn't have that. But I had received a comment just very recently that we have no public comment section on our agenda. And that in years past, when MLAC meetings were in person, there was a sign-up sheet, and those that wanted to speak were then provided to the chair so that they could call on them. That was before my time. I started while it was all online. But I don't know if that is a discussion item, if maybe Teresa, since we have Teresa here, can talk about the history, if there has been a standard agenda item for public comment.
We did, yes. So this was, we up until the pandemic, in which we know we had to be completely virtual, we did have, and we still do now, we're to a hybrid setting. We do have a public sheet for the public to sign in, either just for attendance or if they want to speak. And the public comments was a standing item in the agenda. During the 100% virtual time period for MLAC, what the co-chairs decided to do was to place an item on each of the agendas that if somebody wanted to speak, they had to send an email and let the committee know, that myself or Kara or Brittany know before a set date. And then also what we did as a backstop for those who didn't see the agenda, didn't have access to the agenda, they could send a direct message to me, and then we would add them to the conversation. But now I don't know if that you want to go back to that of having the standing public comment item on the agenda now, or having more directive instructions, or
is there any thoughts from caucus members about having a standard? Sarah?
I just think transparency is super important, and letting people know that we are an open forum to listen as well as conduct business. So whatever methodology that takes, I don't think it matters to me personally, just as long as, and I think we do conduct business that way very openly. And I know our chairs are very, very good about asking if there's any stakeholder comments or anyone that would like to speak, but maybe just put it back in stone somewhere that they can do so.
Okay, so one voice of support. Anyone else have any opinion about it? I think it's a fair, or Tammy.
I was just gonna say, I agree. We want to be as transparent as possible, and we always want to hear from our stakeholders. We're always asking to hear from them. So maybe just letting them know, to email in or message Terry if they want to comment. That would be lovely.
Yeah, maybe as it's published on the website, I'm looking at the agenda that was published or emailed to us. Maybe there could even be a statement put on there that says, if you would like to speak to, please contact, Administrator Watson. And I mean, I don't mind there being a regular agenda item. It could be something that there's not any public comment. We just move on from it quickly.
As someone who wants to make a public comment, I'd like clear instructions, because I didn't know coming into this and it wasn't on the stuff sent to me. And the whole point is to represent the constituency. Just my 2 cents.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. I see Nick Harvard
Yes.
is what it shows on my screen. I don't know if you don't mind identifying yourself maybe for the minutes. And
I'm Nick Hilbers, and I'm the safety representative for the Harvard Company. We're a union drywall and ceilings contractor, and we do other things and stuff like that too. And yeah, I have some issues I want to throw out to the company. I got some proposals for the committee.
okay, well, since we were talking about it, I think, and you have the floor, go ahead and feel free to make your statement.
Well, that was a lot easier than anything. We have some definite concerns about the last injurious exposure rule and how that unfairly, for lack of a better term, penalizes people that want to hire older workers. Just the whole occupational disease law as it is written now, it makes it people over 45 or 50 are at a great disadvantage for employment because of that, what they are carrying in their bodies that manifest themselves into workers' comp claims because of ongoing, I mean, we got people with shoulder claims, we got people with hearing loss, we got people with knees and just all kinds, carpal tunnel, all kinds of other stuff that, accumulates over time. And we picked up a guy and he worked for us for 3 months and we get hit full freight with a hearing loss claim because we had the last injurious exposure. Guy's been in the industry for 30 years and we pick up full freight on that. And it's just makes it, very challenging when you're looking at those older workers. And I know all the other contractors do it too, because of the, we like to hire older workers because we like that experience. But having that occupational exposure really, it really hurts. You're really, taking a risk.
Well, I appreciate you speaking up and bringing this issue forward. And we are going to talk about our work plan, and you might have influenced our caucus to consider that. And I guess the process that I heard the division lay out was that you could contact them as to what you would like to see included, and then they could put it in a more formal basis on our agendas for the future.
No, that'd be great.
Did I hear that right? Yeah.
And I just wanted to add too, that it would be really nice, like they do with the preferred worker program, if they had a pool for the occupational disease law. So that instead of those claims getting pinned on the employer, that has limited exposure or exposure time, that there is some place to go for relief. And I think a lot of employers would sign on for that, because I know we're frustrated with it.
Yeah. Well, thank you very much. Administrator Watson or former Administrator Van Winkle, do you have any comments about how Nick can bring this important issue more formally to our caucus?
Yes, actually, what I will do is, I'm not logged into Zoom. I can do that just for purposes of sending a direct message to Nick with my contact information. We can exchange information and we'll go from there.
Okay, I'll put something, I can put a 1-page together or something, so it's, you
Great.
know, nicely documented.
Okay, you'll see a message from you in the next couple of minutes.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
You bet, Nick. Thanks for speaking up. Is there anyone else, you know, since I took one public comment, I guess, is there anyone else that wanted to say something before we move on our agenda? Okay, let me scan through. I don't see any hands raised. So I will move on to department updates, and I will let our team from DCBS take over.
Okay, so the first update that we have is from Robert, if he has any updates. Is he with us?
Yes.
Oh, good.
I
Okay.
am here. Thanks, thank you, members. I don't have any specific case law updates currently. However, our what we call the MLAC report, compilation of significant, well, not that's the term of our agency, but of noteworthy and significant cases that we've produced in the last 3 months is going to be on its way to you and the governor, possibly even tomorrow or early next week. I also wanted to note that I'm actually stepping down from my position as managing an attorney. I've been here almost 2 years, and an extremely talented senior staff attorney, Lauren Eldridge, is going to take the position in a rotational opportunity for at least the next year, starting on August 1st. So you will see her or her delegate at future meetings, and she's extremely personable and again, very talented. So thank you very much.
Thank
Thank you
Robert,
for your work.
Could you repeat the person's name? We had a hard time hearing you.
Oh yes, her name is Lauren Eldridge, Eldridge. Been with the board since 2016, a former law clerk to Justice Landau. Extremely intelligent, nice person.
Thank you.
Thank you, and we'll be sorry to see you go, but look forward to the new updates. So thank you very much.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about WCD legislation and rulemaking. So some of the legislation you were already aware of, House Bill 3412 was the physician assistant. And so I'm going to kind of talk about legislation and rulemaking at the same time. So House Bill 3412 was the physician's assistants, and that bill did pass, and that is going to affect Division 009, 10, and 15. And then House Bill 2696 was the sign language interpreter in healthcare that must be certified by the Oregon Health Authority. So that rulemaking is going to affect the Division 9 and Division 10. And then Senate Bill 418 is the bill that about the medical appointments. And so that rulemaking is going to affect Division 60. And policy is coming together next week to look at all rulemaking for the next year. So that's a conversation that we'll have at the next meeting. I'll have more updates as far as rulemaking. And then the last legislative piece that I want to talk about, not me, Sally will come up and talk about, is our budget and our POP that we talked about. Oh, Margaret, do you have a question?
Oh, just before we go on to Sally, I had a question.
Sure.
When you're finished, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, I'm done.
What I was wondering is, I read with interest and had a few discussions about the Glintner case, the case from the Court of Appeals about the workers' lump sum agreement and the DCBS form not triggering the insurer obligation to pay a lump sum. And I was wondering if DCBS had a response to that issue, either through rulemaking or form change, and if so, what that was.
Margaret, thank you. Sally Cohen from the Workers' Compensation Division Administrator and can respond to that. We have had one request for rulemaking and to change our form, and we've reviewed that. We do not believe we can change the actual process by rule. Our rule simply restates what the statute states, and we believe this would need to be a statutory change.
So would you be proposing a statutory change?
We haven't yet decided that. We do have it flagged for possible idea for legislative concepts. So I don't know if that's something the department will take forward or not for next session or not, but we do have that flagged for further discussion about that.
And Sally, would you get back to us, or could you tell us when you would get back to us about whether or not you have reached that flag and what the decision was?
I will look to Teresa to help us know what the timeline is for the 25 session.
I don't have anything as of
Yeah, normally we would start about a year ahead of time.
ahead of time. Yeah. So I feel for us, I think usually the deadlines for us, because agencies have to work with through the governor's office and DAST for official agency bills. So usually our process begins internally, like around right after the signing of the 2024
Of
session.
the short session.
Yeah, so it'll be mid-March.
So mid-March, mid-spring-ish of 2024, we'll be having those earlier conversations.
Great, thank you for the information.
You bet. Thank you for the question. You ready, Terry? Okay, thank you. Committee members, thanks for letting me talk. Carrie asked me if I would just do a brief update about our budget. So I'm happy to do that. WCD's budget is part of the larger DCBS agency budget, and this year it was House Bill 5010. And so DCBS, we made our budget presentation to the Joint Ways and Means Subcommittee on the Transportation and Economic Development Subcommittee. We made our presentation at the end of March, and then the full Ways and Means Committee passed our budget bill out mid-May. And that was quickly followed by the House's approval. And then it sat, along with everything else that sat waiting for the Senate's action. But fortunately, the Senate passed it out in the last days of the session on June 23rd. And it is currently awaiting the governor's signature. So we don't anticipate there being any issues with that. The WCD's 2023-25 budget gives us limitation approval for a little more than $59 million, which is about $10 million more than last biennium. And our budget funds continuing service levels for the division, as well as Terry mentioned a moment ago, a specific policy option package for additional positions and funds for our modernization program. So you committee members who've been with us for a little bit have heard us talk about our modernization efforts to modernize our processes here at the division. We have many manual and paper-based processes still. So we are modernizing those and planning for updating and modernizing the systems that support our processes. Since 2019, we've received a handful of additional positions to support our modernization efforts, program manager and 2 IT positions, and also funding to engage with vendors to help us plan. Also this past September, we received authority from the Legislative Emergency Board to hire 2 limited duration positions as well as additional authority to continue contracting for IT professional services. And so our 2023-25 budget that was just approved makes those 2 limited duration positions permanent. And that's includes a business side project manager and a change management analyst. It also gives us an additional IT systems tester position, which we'll be hiring later in the biennium. And additional limitation to continue to contract for IT professional services. So our budget adds about $6.5 million in other funds to continue planning for the implementation of our first project, which is a new core system implementation project for the division. And this core system will form the foundation to support the work of the division. It's kind of the core technology foundation, and it will support the 4 planned future projects, which are specifically focused on adding additional functions to our program areas. There are estimated planning and procurement costs for this system are included in our approved budget, but additional amounts for software licensing, hardware costs, independent quality assurance review, project management, and the like, those additional costs will be deferred until we can procure a vendor and gain additional clarity around the expected cost of the project. So we plan to engage in a request for proposal process for our core system, and we are currently contracting with a vendor for the IT professional services needed to assist with that process. I'll just give a plug here for if you'd like to receive updates about our modernization program process. You can go to our WCD website homepage, and you can subscribe to receive updates there. So we are anxious to get moving forward with our new positions and waiting for the governor's signature on our budget. So happy to answer questions about our budget. If you have questions about the modernization progress, Matt West, our deputy administrator, is also here. He's been actively involved with our procurement processes, so you can answer questions about that if you have questions. But
All right, I see Tammy Bowers has her hand raised.
Yes. Hi, Sally. Thank you for that and for talking to us. I received the email from Fred yesterday with an attachment that had all kinds of letters that are being revised, and I believe he called it the modernization project. And I just want to, is what you're working on kind of the same thing that he's working on also?
oh, thank you, Tammy. It is related. So the update that the modernization program sent out yesterday, Fred was our person who helped email it out for the program. Yes. And so that was an update about our progress on our project to simplify required communications to workers. We've been doing that under the umbrella of our modernization program. We've been working on trying to make some improvements where we can using existing resources before we embark on a large system replacement. So it's a process improvement project that's being done under the umbrella of our modernization program. Yes.
Okay, good. Yeah, there's a lot of things that's being worked on over there. So I was hoping that they kind of went hand in hand. It addresses some of the items in our work plan. So that was very nice to see. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other questions for Ms. Cohen? All right, thank you very much for your report. And are there any other department updates?
That's all.
Okay, thank you for the department updates. We'll move on to, and I did get an email that our labor co-chair will be joining us soon. And I will turn it over as soon as he signs in, if he would like that. But the next item on our agenda is to review the committee work plan, and there is member discussion. We talked about it quite a bit last time around, and updates to that plan were distributed to the caucus members. I don't know if everybody had a chance to look at them and if there are any comments about this updated draft. Sarah?
Thank you, Co-Chair Priest. I think my comments fall around the worker benefit section and the 66 2/3 time loss rate analysis of data. I would like that changed to an overarching or overarching look at the workers' benefit system as a whole and consider it from a fairness and balance system on both sides. And I believe that was the intent and what we talked about at the last meeting.
All right, thank you for that comment. Tammy, I see you have your hand raised as well.
Yes, ditto what Sarah said. I think that we talked about it, in our in-person meeting last time and came up with the wording on how we wanted that worded. And so I would love to see that wording used that we had all agreed upon. And then also I was hoping that we could have these numbered. It's really hard to, refer to, the fourth bullet point down under the third paragraph or something like that. So I'd love to see it numbered. I think that would be easier as well.
Okay. Sarah, did you have your hand raised again?
Yeah, sorry, just, on the numbering scheme, then if you do that, we need to find a different way to delineate the prioritization of projects. Because you did do that with the numbers on the legislative session preparation, doing a 1 there, and then the access and understandability of 1, 2, 3. So those will have to be, delineated in a different fashion. Just that comment.
All right. I guess same question to you, Tammy. Did you re-raise your
maybe-
hand? I think you did.
Yeah, maybe ABC, we could call it ABC and then keep the point number 1 and then point number 2, point number 3, if you want to do that. Do it like that or something, or each of these bullet points may be number 1 and then number 2 and then ABC down the line. But I like how like the last item under ongoing intimidation and retaliation on page 1 said, method of communication is point 1. So I'm assuming that means it's one of the most important items to address first. I'm not sure. Anyway, it's kind of hard like that.
Good comments. Any other comments from caucus members, or was this distributed broadly or posted on the MLAC site?
It was sent out to you, MLAC members, and then this morning it was posted to the website.
Okay. I know that I had asked for the management caucus. Oh wait, I have just heard from our co-chair, our labor co-chair, Scott Strickland, who was assigned to chair this meeting, and he is signed in and is willing and eager to take over. So I am happy to yield the chair to Scott Strickland.
Thank you, Patrick, and apologies for that. Thank you for jumping in there. So I know we're in work plan topic discussion, and I do
Yes.
stand from Sarah Merrick.
Yeah, I just wanted to go back to the reexamination of workers' benefits. Sorry, I didn't have the sheet out in front of me, and I do now. How is that to be reworded? Because I just want to make sure nothing gets lost in just kind of doing an overarching. Sometimes I think it's good to have the bullet points or letters or however we're going to set this up as a reminder of some of the things that we want to take a look at.
I think that's a good question. I know in the discussion, I think there was some talk of having it be more of a like sufficiency of worker benefits point to make sure that we can flag the issues. But I do wonder if something so broad we'd kind of lose track of some of these points, but I'm interested in what other folks have to say about that.
Scott, my mouse has died, so I can't raise my hand
sure.
electronically, but I'll raise my hand if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
You
Patrick.
missed it. Yeah, you missed at the beginning of discussion about the minutes. and that the minutes maybe didn't reflect the discussion, you know, and there may be in the minutes actually wording that would be helpful. I'm not sure there was a decision to defer action on the minutes until Administrator Watson had a chance to you know, look at them again and make a couple of edits.
Okay, and I saw
So-
Tammy's hand too. Was that Tammy, were you gonna make the same point Patrick just said? Okay, excellent. Yeah, and I know with the discussion of these just being posted yesterday, do we maybe want to allow a little bit of time and not take formative action on this so that some stakeholders can chime in and we can kind of have this idea percolate of how we should phrase this and can take more assertive action next time? Would that folks be open to that? I see a
Yes.
couple head nods and whatnot. And Sarah, I can follow up with you, Sarah Merrick. Sorry, we need a Sarah with an H. Maybe I can touch base and we can try and come up with some ideas of ways to make sure that things don't get lost in the broader attempt, because I am cognizant of that being an issue sometimes. Any other discussion or questions about that? And so it's apologies again. It's my understanding we'll kind of wait on the minutes and review the minutes next time as well. And I think that would be a good opportunity. Let the stakeholder input kind of percolate. Let us focus on that and verify the minutes and whatnot, and then be ready next time. Great. Well, any other questions about work plan or member discussion on that? So I see next on the agenda, a committee legislative checklist review. And I see Sarah.
Thank you, Co-Chair Scott, or Strickland, however you prefer to be addressed. I provided some comments and I'm not sure that they were incorporated into this. It feels like a cohesive set of questions would be in order, because some of them are duplicative. And I provided a couple examples and I don't see that incorporation into this. I like the concept and the format. I just would like some refinement on the section of what information does MLAC need on a proposal.
Okay, I think that is good. I know one concern that I had heard kind of reading the very initial drafts were a lot of the focus on kind of cost impacts and other things. And I know that a lot of that's the information isn't available until WCD and other folks do their analysis. So I think I like the way some of this is drafted in that it provides an opportunity that it's not a mandate of you have to have these things before coming to us, but it's more these are the questions you will be asked, be prepared, sort of a thing. But I think that's a good point, Sarah, and I see Tammy's hand.
I like it how it's numbered like 1 through 12. I like that portion. It looks like there might be a cut and paste, different fonts here. And if there's additional questions that you said you had some concerns about, like focusing on the cost. So if there's other questions to focus on, I mean, you know, maybe this should be like 1 through 15 or something. But it would be nice to kind of clean this up a little bit so it's all the same size and correct font. But I do like how it's number 1 through 12. I like that part.
Thank you, Tammy. Any other input from folks? I see Sarah again.
Sorry, Scott, not on this, but I don't know if it would be the right time to talk about an MLAG video that was brought up at the last meeting as well in conjunction with this form. I think the form takes precedence, but I really liked the video idea that was brought up. And I don't want that to get lost somewhere if it's something that the group wants to undertake.
Yeah, I know there was some interest in that. I think that's a good idea. I think one of the things that's helpful about a video format, I mean, even if it's a 3-minute thing on, postable to YouTube or something like that, that makes it accessible to a lot of folks that maybe aren't as word heavy. Just a thought, and kind of making it more accessible to a broader audience. I like that idea. I don't know other MLAC members if there's ideas on that or support. I see a thumbs up, couple thumbs up, almost every thumbs up.
Scott, this is Marcy, and I agree. I know for my Health and Welfare Trust, we are looking at doing more of those little, I think they call them whiteboard videos. They're relatively easy to put together and get to the point.
Great.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
Yes, go ahead, Terry.
Would the video be for people presenting their legislative concepts, or would the video be for MLAC?
I think I'm kind of open to ideas on that, but I think I know in the initial discussion, the thoughts that I'd had about it were, if you create it, I mean, not a Schoolhouse Rock kind of a thing, but a sort of broader, more general topic, then sort of anyone can take away from it what they want. So you could have folks that, a lobbyist or something that's trying to understand the process is able to watch it. Folks trying to understand the process for whatever other purpose, if they're a stakeholder or if they're a new MLAC member or whatever, there's something for everyone in a sense, if we create it that way. Just as an idea, but I don't know if, members and stakeholders think that would be helpful or not, but I see Sarah's hand.
Thank you, Scott. I thought initially, I like the concept that you're bringing forth, but it might be too broad to put into a 3-minute whiteboard video format. But, I thought initially it was going to be for anyone that wanted to make a proposal to MLAC, kind of follow in the same format of the legislative review guidelines. Like, what is MLAC? Doing a little snippet on that, and when should proposals be brought, and then kind of go through that. But in that, I believe you're going to get, a lot of what you're speaking to as well for the broader audience, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. Any other member thoughts on that? I think we just start making motions on who has to star in the video.
You got jokes this morning.
Well, I don't know. Should we put forth a timeline or ask the division to put forth a timeline on what that would look like and their proposal on putting the video together?
Yeah, so I think we could ask WCD, who I assume this would go through, to maybe put together some information as to whether that's a feasible, something that they could do, and what the timeline or the resources or what they would need to do that. And maybe myself and Patrick could talk with Terry and kind of coordinate on what other information WCD needs, and
Sure.
some other ideas that we have, if that works.
That works.
Okay.
I think a good template would be a finalized legislation review guidelines document.
Okay. Yeah, and I think that could help sort of guide the I don't want to say the script, but the idea for the video as well. So any other thoughts or discussion? Thank you, Sarah. I think those are some great points on this legislative committee checklist.
I guess I would just like what the next steps are going to be and when we're gonna get a draft, an additional draft to look at.
Sounds good. So it's my understanding from the discussion, and I'll just throw this out here. Please feel free to jump in and correct me, folks. It's my understanding that we'll have an updated draft sort of shortly that can be disseminated out to co-chairs and then from there to the, other stakeholders and other members. And then the co-chairs can meet with folks, Terry and other folks at WCD as needed to talk about what the next steps will be in between meetings. And then by the next meeting, we can have an updated draft to potentially take some more action on and some more information about video option and what that looks like and what the timelines are. If that seems manageable to everyone here. And happy for any input from WCD if that seems feasible, or at least we could take a stab at it. And I know, if anything comes up or we stumble across anything that seems to be a huge burden, then the co-chairs and other members will at least be notified and given a heads up, and we can keep folks updated in the interim between meetings. Cool. I see a thumbs up, so sounds good. Any other, Sarah, do you think, does that work for you?
Without an H or with an H?
Without an H.
Yeah, seems great. Thank you.
Okay. All righty. So without any other discussion on that, I see next on our list is the workday training issues.
Yes. So, was it, Patrick, was it you that talked to me about the workday training? Is that correct?
That's correct. I thought, I asked if everyone on the committee had taken the training or been given access to it, and if there were any difficulties, because there had been. I let you know that there had been in the past.
Yes. Yes. So I just wanted everybody to know if they're having issues with Workday, please shoot me an email and we'll problem solve if you're having problems with the training or anything like that. I can stop. It looks like.
Yeah, I see. Yeah, Sarah.
I don't mean to interrupt, but just whenever you're done, Terry, I do have a comment.
Okay. Seems like there's issues with the I-9, some of the training, some of those kind of things. And so I wanted to let you know, please reach out right away so we can problem solve those issues and figure out what's going on and try to figure out, the best ways.
And I can follow up too. I know for a couple of the issues. So for example, the I-9, I also discovered that your whole account was terminated for some weird reason. I'm working with the representative. Yes, I'm working with Department of Administrative Services, who's the liaison for Workday to fix those issues.
Okay.
So, and after this meeting, actually, I owe her the liaison a reply.
Oh, okay.
And I can also check too with individual. I'm doing my last steps before the Workday account goes to Terry full time. But we can check your individual accounts for training and completion. They are date and time stamped within your individual record.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Sarah, I see your hand still.
Thank you, Scott. Just general comments. I think, Teresa definitely knows this, my opinion of Workday. It's challenging on the greatest of days and very clunky and not functional on a mediocre day. And totally not attainable or, accessible on the worst of days. So for new members, is there anything that we can do to help that process through? Because I've struggled, from day one on that. And, I don't want it to be a deterrent for new members to have to deal with those same challenges. So if there's any best practices we can set them up with, so they don't have to have those same really long exacerbating issues with the Workday, it would be helpful. And I would like new members not to have to go through the same stuff we've had to go through.
I totally agree. And Workday is challenging for us too. I mean, working on this side of it and even working as an employee for the state, it's challenging. So.
Yeah, and Sarah, you reminded me too. I will reach out to the governor's executive appointments team because I'm presuming that you, being that most of you on the committee have been on literally the first round of people to work on Workday as a board member. I'm presuming that there's other boards and commission members outside of DCBS that have similar issues. So I will check on that too, to see if there's any improvements on that for the users.
This is Marcy, and I sit on the Oregon Energy Facility Siting Council, and trying to simultaneously do it. I agree with everything Sarah said, and for the staff at Odo, they had the same challenges, and we had to find odd ways to do to access the information. So it's one of those things where it is enough to make you say, forget it. If this is what it is, I don't want to do it, which obviously wasn't the case, but it's got to be better.
Yeah, and I appreciate all of that. I know that we've all had our struggles with the system, and I'm sure staff, perhaps most of all, having to juggle it on multiple ends. I wonder if there'd be an opportunity. I know we're kind of developing a better onboarding process for new board members and having, training and discussion and whatnot. If at the very least, as kind of an immediate step, we could make sure that there's some individual, I don't know, from either IT or something who's available during that time to make sure that there's a sort of screen sharing sample login and walkthrough or something like that for how to log in and find your trainings. At least for folks as a new board member as an option. And then I don't know if we could do that as well for sort of existing board members. And I know that is only kind of one facet of the issue. The other issue is just the clunkiness of the program, even when it's working well, as Sarah brought up. But I don't know if that would help at all address some of these concerns, especially for new board members.
Well, Scott, even setting up the authenticator that's required now, it can be a deterrent, as Marcy stated, and we don't want that. We don't want them, it's a volunteer position. We're not trying to make it harder for people. It's easy to throw up your hands and say, why am I doing this? But
that's a good point. Any other ideas about that? I think maybe scheduling another couple minutes in the next meeting to sort of hear back what we found out and if some of the glitches are fixed and my account magically gets turned back on. Sarah with an H, I see a hand up.
I may be able to help report. I just got my emails to some of my access to those training today, this morning. So once I contact Teresa for my other access points, I can report back what I find, if that's helpful at all.
Sure. Yeah, I think that would be great. Any other questions or thoughts about that?
I guess, hey, Scott, I have one
Yeah, go ahead,
question
Patrick.
maybe. Do we have to use Workday since we are volunteer? We don't work for the state? I know
Yes,
I had to
it
set up the authenticator. It has to be Workday? Okay.
has to be Workday, yes. This was, yeah, you were the lucky ones, got to be the first thing. Now, this has been a work in progress for years, and yes, you do have to use it along with myself and others as employees, so.
Yeah. I guess I'd give one bit of feedback that the authenticator, which I set up and was able to successfully use, did mess up other sign-ins that I have, both at work and personal. I don't know how it now has made it make me go through authenticator for other sign-ins, but that was a challenge for me.
I will pass along that feedback. I'm guessing you're not the only one either. Since Microsoft is used so much in the office and personal too, so.
Great. Thank you, Patrick. Well, so it sounds like we have a lot of work on that as well. Any other questions or thoughts about Workday? Maybe we can identify which authenticators work, because I know a lot of times you have a range of options for different MFA, like multi-factor authentication, and some may be more glitch heavy than others, or some may be utilized across platforms that then have the unintended consequences that Patrick referenced. So that could be something we could look into as well, possibly. All right, if we don't have any other issues to discuss regarding Workday and training, I know upcoming meeting schedule is next on the agenda.
Yes, I did send out a meeting schedule for next year, and also our next meeting is August 17th, which is a little later, but can't remember what the original date was, but there was a conflict and people couldn't attend. So the next two meetings are August 17th and September 14th. And then the meeting schedule that I sent out, it's just a draft. So if it works, great. If it doesn't, that's okay too.
Okay, thank you. And I see Sarah's hand.
Thank you, Scott. I don't know where the dates came from, but I had different dates already in my calendar, such as September 7th, October 5th, November 2nd, and December 7th.
Okay.
I have the same that Sarah's identifying. This is Marcy.
Okay. Well,
This
and
is
like
Matt.
I said,
I have the same.
okay.
I do too.
You said December 7th? So it's the first.
They're always that first, typically.
Thursday?
I'm not saying they need to be that. I'm just saying that they've been in my calendar as that.
Okay.
September 7th, October 5th, November 2nd, and December 7th.
All right. So how about I update this and send it out again?
Beyond that, they're really nice to have a meeting invite via Outlook or whatever format that they've been in. Have been extremely helpful as well.
Thank you, sir. And I see Tammy's hand.
Yes, I think that we received the meeting invite for those original dates of like October 5th and whatever the other original dates are, because I see all of those that are in my Outlook calendar already. And so I was trying to get them to move to the new dates that Terry had sent out this last week. So I guess I'll just wait and see what the plan is, keep the original or to change them.
We can change them, and Brittany's actually the one who set those up. So we
Oh,
can-
Brittany
yeah.
set those
So
up.
we'll have
Okay.
Brittany just do
That
that, all
Brittany.
the adjustments and.
Okay, I will fix that. Okay.
Okay,
Thank
thank you.
Not
Yeah,
a
and I think that's correct. I think that there were original dates that were sent out, and I think this had a couple updated dates because I think there was a conflict or two for folks. But I see Margaret's hand.
Excuse me. I was just curious, are we changing them or I'm confused with what the plan is right now.
It was Terry's mistake, Margaret.
Okay, great.
Alrighty, so it sounds like we'll get maybe an updated list of dates and then again, co-chairs, we can discuss and get those disseminated. And if further action needs to be taken, we can next meeting. But we'll make sure that those get posted as well for folks because we know stakeholders patiently waiting on us here also utilize those times as well. So that'd be great.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Tammy.
Okay, I do show that the August 17th meeting invite is like the original and that matches. So is that our next meeting date, specifically Terry? Is August 17th definite? Yes.
That is my understanding. Yes.
Okay, great. I do have that one, and then we'll just wait to see about the others. Thank you.
It would also be nice on the invites to denote which ones are in person. Just would be helpful.
Okay, I think that would be great. I know we were talking about having our kind of quarterly in-person preference meetings. Any other discussion or questions about the scheduling? Not seeing any. I want to thank Patrick for stepping in, and I want to thank everyone for your patience and appreciate that. And look forward to seeing everyone August 17th. So thank you all. Have a pleasant rest of your week.